property. They are becoming a strategic threat. With a wave of its innovative wand, Raphael has developed a first-of-its-kind counter-rocket artillery mortar CRAM system with pinpoint accuracy interceptors against asymmetric threats, Iron Dome. In an unprecedented short time, Raphael has met the challenge, offering an innovative CRAM system which has successfully passed a series of challenging tests against a wide variety of threats, proving its outstanding effectiveness. The system includes a Battle Management and Control Unit, BMC, detection and tracking radar, at high speed and over a large area, even in severe weather conditions. Iron Dome operates automatically, day and night. Range of short and medium-range rocket and artillery threats. Iron Dome is a very cost-effective system, selecting out of multiple threats and concentrated salvos only those threats that endanger the protected area.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's been interesting. I get to take my mask off under the rules now. We haven't quite caught up with the science here in the House, but hopefully the House of Representatives that has leadership proclaiming that we need to follow the science refuses to do so far. That the best job, both on Fast and Furious and on Benghazi cover-up, was done by Judicial Watch. They got more documentation out of the Justice Department than Congress did, and we're charged with oversight. Even when Republicans had the majority, people were put in place that did not pursue justice and a cleanup of the Justice Department. So by the time President Trump came along, he had a number of people at the top that created the Russia hoax, a fraud. And as others have said, when the Justice Department and the FBI can work as effectively at trying to frame the President of the United States, who happened to be a billionaire, then most of us would be in severe trouble. And that's the case. And we have seen it in the last few years. We have seen a Justice Department, of course, Christopher Wray, my humble opinion, when he was put in there with a job of cleaning up the FBI, his idea of cleaning up for the FBI was to sweep as much of the dirt under the rug so that people couldn't see it. Just like now Homeland Security and Health and Human Services, their job is not to secure the border under this administration. Their job is now to get them away from the border as quickly as possible so that people don't see them. They're not in the news every night because they've moved them out. As the Border Patrolmen have said, you know, they're looked upon as the drug cartel, the Mexican drug cartel's logistics. The drug cartel gets paid money or agreements to pay money from people they bring, including unaccompanied minors, and then the U.S. government is their logistics because the government ships future drug sailors, traffickers, human traffickers, sex traffickers. Our U.S. government ships them around the United States so that they can get to the town the drug cartels want them doing their drug trafficking, human trafficking, or sex trafficking. The government has become a part of the process for the drug cartels, all to the damage and often the death of American citizens. Pancho Villa and his minions invaded, I believe it was New Mexico. John Pershing, General Pershing was sent down. He had a lieutenant named Patton, and they were sent down, even invade Mexico, going after Pancho Villa and his troops, because there were some families that they killed in New Mexico. Well, we've got thousands of people dying from fentanyl coming from Mexico, and the answer of this administration, we heard in the last couple of days, administration is going to add 13 miles to the wall, but otherwise leave over 1,000 miles without wall. But the answer has not been to secure the border. The answer from this administration has been to say that the border is secure, when anybody with eyes to see or ears to hear knows that's not true. But the injustices that have occurred since January 6 appear to be a continuation of the goal of that one word, optics. The one word that prevented our leadership from having the National Guard on hand to ensure that the Capitol was not invaded. And for those, we've heard it in the Judiciary Committee, that's why I had videotape, which we not allowed to have here on the House floor, obviously, but had the videotape of John Sullivan, a Trump hater, who's been supportive of groups that wanted Trump pulled out of office, or as Mr. Sullivan, I'll paraphrase, wanted to yank him out of the White House and do things to him, but he was one of the first ones in the Capitol. He's on video, and he was bragging, see, I told you we'd be able to do this, getting into the Capitol. He was there egging on people, even at the shooting of the young lady that was shot by the Capitol policeman. Many of us would like to know the full circumstances of so much that went on here, but that the thousands of hours of tape are not being used. Now, some of us had heard that the wonderful man, wonderful Capitol policeman, Officer Sicknick, that he had died of natural causes. And yet it was all over the media that he was beaten with a fire extinguisher. Turned out that was completely false. And the article about that by Julie Kelly in American Greatness, April 26th, her article pointed out there's no reason to keep these men in jail, let alone in solitary confinement in a D.C. prison. The cause of Capitol Officer Brian Sicknick's untimely death on January 7th is finally settled, but the prosecution of his alleged attackers rages on. After months of dishonest accounts about what happened to Officer Sicknick, first that he was bludgeoned to death by insurrectionists with a fire extinguisher, and then that he died of an allergic reaction to bear spray. The D.C. Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the 42-year-old Officer Sicknick died of a stroke. The chemical sprayed in his direction during the chaos outside the Capitol on January 6th did not contribute to his death. In its haste to bolster the new narrative, maintaining Sicknick was killed by rioters wielding bear spray, the acting Attorney General was in on the lie from the start. The Justice Department charged two men with the chemical attack. George Tenios and Julian Cater were arrested March 14th and charged with several crimes, including 4 counts related to possession and use of a deadly or dangerous weapon, and for conspiring ahead of time to use the spray against the officers. They've been behind bars ever since. Both were transported to the nation's capital, where they joined dozens of January 6 detainees held in solitary confinement in a D.C. jail. A judge on Tuesday, this was dated April 26, will consider motions filed by their attorney.
Il y avait de quoi être surpris hier matin dans le terminal principal de Genève Aéroport. Eric Bullman est le premier passager à tester un nouveau concept de protection mis en place par Genève Aéroport. Avec cette méthode surprenante, plus besoin de tests PCR ni de vaccins.
En fait, j'ai pas eu le temps de me faire tester ni de me faire vacciner. Et du coup, j'ai regardé le site internet de Genève Aéroport. Je leur ai demandé si ça avait une solution, je devais absolument partir.
So yeah, what can I say? The world's gone mad. The world's gone completely.
So right now we're about to go give a COVID vaccine to someone inside a 7-Eleven. This is what community service looks like and getting the community vaccinated.
You know, I'm the hot nose. He's going to ask you some questions.
This is the first time we're doing the community.
2, 3. Well, Johnson & Johnson, you only need one and done. So that's the good thing about it. You don't have to get a second one, nothing like that. Yeah, that's it. And you don't have to like call for the second appointment like usually with Pfizer and all that stuff. So
Interesting stuff, folks. Interesting stuff. Yeah, but they're worried about dangerous conspiracy theories that are fueling, or dangerous Facebook groups that are fueling conspiracy theories and lies, because they're so worried about the truth, folks. They really want to cramp down on social media and make sure they're always telling the truth, which is probably why we just saw Twitter suspend a Spanish politician's account for daring to say that men cannot get pregnant. They wanted me to go on there and talk about the conflict in Gaza, which is still going on. Israel has done over 1,000 bombing campaigns in the Gaza Strip now, folks. I showed you the video of the people in Gaza. These are kids. Gaza doesn't have a military force. This isn't a war. There aren't two armies fighting. There's one army fighting against a bunch of walled-in, defenseless civilians and claiming it's a war. But anyway, I went on to Press TV and they wanted me to just, I know they wanted me to just nail Israel to the wall for what it's doing. And sure, I mean, I kind of did. And I have done many times in the past. But I took the opportunity to actually talk about the bigger picture and how all this is involved in the Great Reset. And their line of questioning was interesting as well, because they asked me, well, who's doing anything? If the United Nations isn't going to do it, then who can the Palestinians approach? Who can we approach to fix this problem? Because what they want to do with all this, folks, is they want to show you how corrupt Israel is, because it is. It's an absolutely abominable place. It's an abominable state, and it's an apartheid regime. It's the source of all world terrorism. It's a disgraceful, disgusting state. But the world's going to change. And with everything that they're doing, they want us feeling negative. They want us feeling bad. They want us worried about everything. That's why I keep saying to you, no stake in the outcome. Don't stress about all this stuff, because you shouldn't have a stake in the outcome. You're only here for a little while anyway, and it's really not about that. Everything they do is they're trying to put you into fear. They want to make you feel hopeless. That's why when I do these reports even, I bring you a lot of negative information, but I try to keep it empowering. No stake in the outcome. You've got to see what the game is. But then you've got to intend for it to go the way you want to do. As I've often said to people, the true nature of prayer is to put yourself in the emotional state where the prayer has already been answered. Your whole life is a prayer, because you're having this emotion.
Normalcy only returns when we largely vaccinated the entire global population.
This will be the new normal until a vaccine is developed.
Have you identified yourself as a police officer? Coming and gathering about 5 people?
Actually, you guys are the ones gathering with me.
What do I do?
This time is so important in what's happening to humanity, and we really have to put down the fear and realise that the choice is ours to make. A lot of people aren't seeing that, they're waiting to be saved, and I think that's a big problem.
Because of brainwashing and programming, most people just are incapable of even seeing the truth.
As the state power grows, individual liberties shrink. Always supposedly for our own good, of course. They know that the more people are afraid of these threats, the more willing they are to give up their liberty in the name of protection against these threats.
This is a new normal that is being caused by the pharmaceutical industry, and science all around the world is proving it. It's the regulatory agencies that are creating this lie, and the doctors are buying it. I think it's more like a religion.
The deep state usual amount of leverage with the public state.